So I appreciate that Pete Buttigieg pretends to be offended by what I said. I think Pete should be offended by the fact that under his leadership as Secretary of Transportation, the government took in $8 billion to build 7 electric vehicle charging facilities at a time when Americans are paying 45% more for the gas that transports them to work. That's what we should be focused on, and that's what we should be talking about. And it illustrates, Jake, my entire criticism of the Democratic approach here is they're focused on fake issues instead of the real record.
See, this is why Trump picked J.D. Vance. This video is brought to you by Tuttle Twins, brought to you by Tuttle Twins. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen this cartoon, you're missing out. Your kids should be watching this every single day to learn and get valuable lessons that they're not teaching them on regular cartoons. These two twins, you see the Tuttle Twins, are very inquisitive young people. And when Grandma moved in, she had the old school method of teaching them about capitalism, teaching them against socialism, talking about economic stuff, and they make it into a really cool cartoon. But in order to get the first 2 seasons for free, all you got to do is go to angel.com/Officer Tatum, and you can get the first 2 seasons for free. On there, you can also watch the 3rd season. It's not free, but you can still watch it as well. They release episodes every single week. So make sure you check it out. The link will be in the description section. Check out a quick clip of the cartoon, and you'll realize why I love the Tuttle Twins.
Socialism. Huh? Your problem you were describing is the side effect of socialism, or a system where everyone is forced to pay for a good or service, whether they benefit or not. And it fails over and over again.
Maybe we just didn't do it right.
Everyone says that! The road to socialism is paved with good intentions, the desire for fairness, equality, and compassion. But it always includes taking away the free will of others. And when taken to the extreme, it leads to disaster, like in Cuba, Venezuela, and the Soviet Union.
Grandma own it, bro. Y'all get a good glimpse of why I love the cartoon. You should let your kids watch it. My kids watch it all the time, and I want to make sure that they get these principles. Like and subscribe to the channel. Y'all already know what to do. Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, and ladies. J.D. Vance on here whooping these people. This is called masculinity versus cowardice. This is a real man that have real values and that is authentic and speaking the truth of his and raising his family and doing all that stuff. This is the American dream of what a man should be, and the expression of what the American dream is that a man can exude if he is a conservative thinking man that's not bought and paid for. All right, a lot of word salads there. And that's a little weenie over there that literally is soft as a marshmallow. Now listen to the two men describe the condition of this country in a debate. Roll the clip.
Thank you so much for joining us. What's your reaction to what you heard from your counterpart and from the Democrats this evening in Chicago?
Well, I think it's an interesting contrast, Jake, between what President Trump and I are offering, which is very simple. We are advancing policies that are going to lower the cost of housing, lower the cost of food, secure the southern border, and raise wages for the middle class. And Kamala Harris really can't run on accomplishing that because her policies have in fact caused a lot of the problems and a lot of the suffering that we see in our country. So what you see from the Democrats is instead this argument that if you want to vote for Donald Trump because you want to change the direction of this country, you're somehow a bad person. And I really think that that dark message really doesn't gel at all with the idea that somehow the Democrats are the joyful party. There's a lot of attacks on Donald Trump, a lot of criticisms of what he's done and what he's said, not a whole lot of positive vision for how Kamala Harris is going to fix the problems that plague the country.
Look, the beta juice is Beetlejuice. Like they should have a cartoon that's called Beetlejuice. You know how it's Beetlejuice? A Beetlejuice. And this fool would probably be the first character. And, you know, the man said something that I thought was very smart, very articulate, very factual. Jay Tapper should not argue with him on this. It shouldn't even be a rebuttal. You should go on to the next question. But these people are shields for the Democrat Party. Just listen. I'm going to shut up.
There's also been some criticisms of you. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg this evening spoke tonight. He took aim at one of your past comments from 2021, that Americans that don't have children have, quote, no physical commitment to the future of this country, unquote. I want you to take a listen and get your reaction.
You know, Senator, when I deployed to Afghanistan, I didn't have kids then. Many of the men and women who went outside the wire with me didn't have kids either. But let me tell you,
You still don't have kids.
Our commitment to the future of this country was pretty damn physical.
It was physical? Yeah, it was physical. All right. You and your buddy in there getting physical. And y'all didn't have no kids. That's somebody else's kids. All right. I'm just saying. Don't quit acting like you got an investment in the future because now you have kids. Don't quit lying. Y'all don't have no kids. That's somebody else's kids. Two men can't make no kid together. That's somebody kid with somebody else. Or it's one of y'all's kid with somebody else. It ain't y'all's. All right.
What's your response?
Well, my response, Jake, is that Pete Buttigieg has taken a sarcastic remark that I made 3 years ago and turned it into something to distract from the fact that his leadership has seen higher transportation costs, higher fuel costs, and higher food prices for American citizens all over our country. These guys act so focused on a sarcastic quip that I made that they ignore the fact that under Kamala Harris's leadership, Americans can't afford the basic necessities of a good life in this country. And so I appreciate that Pete Buttigieg pretends to be offended by what I said. I think Pete should be offended by the fact that under his leadership as Secretary of Transportation, the government took in $8 billion to build 7 electric vehicle charging facilities at a time when Americans are paying 45% more for the gas that transports them to work. That's what we should be focused on, and that's what we should be talking about. And it illustrates, Jake, my entire criticism of the Democratic approach here is they're focused on fake issues instead of the real record. And the real record is that Kamala Harris has made this country poorer. Donald Trump made the middle class richer, and he caused a lot of peace and prosperity to break out in this country and all over the world. It's a very simple contrast, and I wish the Democrats would focus on the issues.
There was another comment about you I wanted to get a reaction to. This evening we heard a bit about January 6, 2021.
I give it to Jake Tapper. He is moving from question to question because there's really nothing to say. I mean, J.D. Vance whooping him on here.
We saw a video of police officers getting assaulted. Take a listen to what Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin said the other night about you.
And by the way, J.D. Vance, do you understand why there was a sudden job opening for running mate on the GOP ticket? They tried to kill your predecessor.
Do you have any reservations at all taking the ticket, taking the opportunity to serve as a vice presidential nominee, given what happened to Vice President Pence on January 6th?
No, not at all, Jake. And look, I can't help but laugh at what Jamie Raskin said. These are people who somehow always make themselves the victims. Jamie Raskin should be much more worried about the fact that there are a lot of Americans that can't afford to buy groceries, that can't afford to put their children in a nice home because of the policies that he has implemented and he has voted for. I just don't understand a person in American politics in 2024 who's whining about what happened to them instead of using their leadership and using their influence to make the lives of American citizens better. I have no reservations about taking this job because I know that if we make Donald J. Trump president of the United States, he's going to deliver rising wages, lower prices, and a secure border. That is all worth it for me, whatever the media or Jamie Raskin says about me.
I want to play some of what Governor Walz said during his speech, his acceptance speech earlier tonight, and get your reaction.
It's an agenda that serves nobody except the richest and the most extreme amongst us. And it's an agenda that does nothing for our neighbors in need. Is it weird? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's also wrong, and it's dangerous.
Your reaction to that?
Well, when Donald Trump was president, Jake, you had people buying homes at record rates. You had young Americans who were able to afford to raise a family. You had people who could afford the basic trappings of middle-class life in this country. And so when Tim Walz says that Donald Trump's agenda doesn't work for middle-class Americans, he already was president for 4 years, and his agenda worked very well for middle-class Americans. Again, I just wish, I would love for Tim Walz or Kamala Harris or anybody else to say that during the 3.5 years that Kamala Harris was vice president, here is the thing that she did to make groceries more affordable. Here is the thing that she did to make it possible to raise a family in this country. Or here's the thing that she did to secure rather than open up the border. Because they can't talk about Kamala Harris's record, they're creating a phantom of Donald Trump's leadership. The Donald Trump that I know and that the American people know, I think, produced really good results for the American people. It's a record to be proud of, and a record I'd like to get back to, frankly, because it was good for the American people.
How can you argue with this? I got more clip, so just stay tuned. How can you argue with this? I hear the clips that Jake Tapper is playing, and they have no substance. They're attack on people's character, but to be honest, it only helps wealthy people. Is that really your talking point? This is where the Democrats are going to fall off the cliff. It's because it sounds cute to have a sound bite that says X. But at the same time, while somebody's riding in the car, listening to CNN, hearing the sound bite, they're buying stuff from the grocery store and wondering what the is going on. The same person that had a goal to purchase a house, see interest rates are out of control. And they can't afford that same house that they used to. And you know, it goes down the list, brother. You can say and listen to whatever you want. Oh, man, the DNC was lit. People are still struggling, though. The immigrants are still getting all this money from taxpayer dollar to live up in hotels and get funded and housing. And people are like, what the? I mean, I heard what they said at DNC. Oh, yeah, Trump is a nut job. But, bro, I'm struggling. I'm literally, after I leave this conference, I'm going to put gas in my car and realize they haven't said nothing about these gas prices. This is what the real American people are experiencing. So I'm glad they keep bringing up bullcrap, because I think when the rubber hit the road, people are more concerned about their financial future than they are about mudslinging.
Both you and President Trump have suggested that there's something wrong or illegitimate about the way that Kamala Harris replaced Joe Biden on the Democratic ticket. Now that the Democratic convention is here, do you accept Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, as the legal and legitimate presidential nominee of the Democratic Party?
Well, first of all, Jake, she's certainly the legitimate nominee of the Democratic Party. We're going to debate her, and we're going to try to beat her in November. But I do think it's a little bizarre how the Democrats went about this. We have to remember that for 3.5 years, Kamala Harris and a lot of Democrats said that Joe Biden was totally fit for the job. That was revealed to be a lie. And then when it became obvious that Joe Biden was political dead weight, they replaced him without casting a single Democrat primary vote. That doesn't make it illegal, but it certainly makes it a little bizarre. And if I was a Joe Biden voter, I'd be pretty frustrated at the way that this unfolded.
Before you go, quickly, if you could, CNN's reporting that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is expected to suspend his presidential campaign on Friday. It's been reported that he's considering endorsing Donald Trump, especially if he gets made Secretary of Health and Human Services or such. Have the two men been talking? Do you expect an endorsement? How much might it help?
You know, so I don't talk to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Jake. I certainly listen to what he says, and I do think that he is a guy who recognizes that the Kennedy Democrats of old have been replaced by the Kamala Harris Democrats who support high inflation and open borders. So I'm not surprised that he feels left behind by the Democratic Party. I think a lot of Democrats, a lot of people like my grandparents feel left behind by the Democratic Party. I would certainly welcome his endorsement of Donald Trump. I've seen the same reports you mentioned. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but I certainly hope it does, because I do think it would be helpful, because it drives home this idea that the Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy, it's just not the Democratic Party of 2024. Let's get back to common sense. And unfortunately, the only American leader running on common sense right now at a national level is Donald Trump.
Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, thanks so much. Safe travels, sir.
I'm glad they interviewed him like that. I mean, they could have been argumentative with him, and he would have stood the test of time. I think that J.D. Vance, as far as a PR perspective and a person that can go out on a campaign trail and articulate very clear policies with a straight head, with a clear conscience, I think J.D. Vance, nobody can do it better than J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance right now, in my opinion, is incredibly presidential. I would love for Trump to talk like J.D. Vance, if you ask me. But the truth is, will Trump be where he at if he was like an even kill guy? He kind of got to be a bull in a china shop. He got to be the SWAT operator that's, you know, on the ram at the door or explosive breach. He has to be the one that set the tempo, and everybody else can smoothly go behind him and make things right or try to sound a little less combative. So J.D. Vance does a really good job. I'll vote for J.D. Vance as the president. And I think if something were to happen to Donald Trump at any point in time, I think J.D. Vance could fill in and do an incredible job. I think J.D. Vance's charisma is far beyond what Ron DeSantis' charisma is. I think J.D. Vance is more electable than Ron DeSantis, even though Ron DeSantis' policies have been something that I really think have been paramount. I think he's probably the most conservative governor in the entire country. J.D. Vance almost won his position. He was really close. And now, you know, after being when he's VP, I think that Republicans are going to steamroll Ohio because they're going to love the way he governs as the VP, or way he, you know, I guess I'm going to say governs, but the way he assists Trump as the VP. And conservatives are going to see their lives get back to normal, and they're going to begin to fall in love with J.D. Vance and the Republican Party. I'm just saying. I'll see y'all in the next one. I'm out.